There's just something special about the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Doesn't matter who is racing there, there's always going to be eventful stuff happening, and that absolutely applies to the 2024 NASCAR Brickyard 400 that was on this weekend. So with that in mind, guys, I'm bringing you 5 things that we learned from this race because, like I said, eventful, plenty of stuff happening. So I'll start with a bit of a negative here. Martin Truex Jr. Now, I think before this race he was up in about 4th place, something like that. He was the highest placed NASCAR driver without a win this season. And if you know anything about the playoff system, you need a win to guarantee that you're going to be in. That's kind of how it works. Truex's wait for a win in 2024 still continues though, as his day was basically over from the start. He failed at an inspection earlier in the day, and because of that he had to take a pass-through penalty through the pits. We had to drive through the pits at the regular pit lane speed limit while everybody else is racing at 200 miles an hour around the IMS. His day was properly over though after a few incidents in stage 3. Contact with someone else, and then Kyle Larson actually gave him a puncture, ended up in the wall, and then he also spun after that as well and got beached on the grass. So a really bad day for Truex, and he slips down to 7th overall in the championship. I still believe he's the highest driver in the standings without a win, so he is still in the playoffs as it stands, but it's not going to be guaranteed, and he's definitely going to be sweating going into the final few rounds before the playoffs. We have 4 rounds still to go before the playoffs. The next one in Richmond, Virginia, in about 3 weeks' time. There's a bit of a gap for the Olympics, so it was also there's also some controversial penalties as well, particularly for Brad Keselowski and Chase Elliott in the first stage. So the rule is, because of the way the IMS is, that there's not like a usual pit exit. There are 3, as far as I understand, there are 3 sections of the track. There's the main racing part of the circuit on the outside, and there are 2 inside lanes as well that cars can use to basically speed up and get up to racing speed before safely rejoining the track. Because if they join the track at the speeds they're going in pit lane, there could be a horrendous accident if cars are going side by side into one of the corners. So that's why that is. But Keselowski and Elliott fell foul of this, because if you go over the line onto the main circuit, you get a pass-through penalty for that. And yeah, they were not happy with the way that NASCAR were policing that. I'll probably do a separate video on that, actually, explaining why exactly they both got penalties and why it might not be totally fair. The commentators weren't happy about it. The crew chiefs were definitely not happy about it either. And I don't blame them really, because their guys actually lost out big time because of that. But yeah, let's get out to the actual racing itself. Tyler Reddick bossed the early parts of stage 1, but it was Denny Hamlin who took the stage 1 victory thanks to some incredible pace and some overtaking as well, particularly through his pit stops. That's when he really gained the time. And it was also Kyle Larson as well who was in P2. He was chasing down Hamlin, but it was not enough in the end for him to get P1. In the second stage, it was Bubba Wallace who got the victory here. His first stage win since 2022, as he bids to make an outside shot for the playoffs. He did some really good lift and coasting through the corners, basically where you lift off through the corners to save fuel, and he also didn't go full throttle down the straights to save some gas as well. He did do some pretty controversial blocking on Joey Logano in parts 2 though. That kind of soured that one a little bit for me. I think he was really unfair with that. I'm all for hard racing, but Logano had to get off the throttle to avoid an accident down the straight, and I think that's a bit wrong, to be honest, but he did not get a penalty for it. But yeah, the final thing that we learned is that Kyle Larson wins the Brickyard 400. He was absolutely ecstatic when he'd done so. There were a number of wrecks, and the race actually ended up under caution, finishing under caution because of a car stopped after a spin that got a puncture. But there were a number of incidents and wrecks before that, as well as drivers started to run out of fuel and chaos duly ensued, of course. But yes, Kyle Larson with an excellent victory. He put on such a great late charge. I think he was 6th or something like that, and then he ended up getting to 1st with just a couple laps to go. So yeah, great win for him. He was ecstatic. Fantastic win. First win as well since Sonoma for him too. So yeah, I'm very happy for him doing that. A very, very impressive drive, and he goes back to the top of the driver's standings as well, 9 points ahead of Chase Elliott with Tyler Reddick now in third. But yes, a bit of a gap now for the Olympics with NASCAR, I know, but doesn't matter, guys. We'll be back to cover that as well when they end up racing in Richmond, Virginia. And of course, I will be doing some content as well in the meantime as well, just to keep you guys ticking over. If you have any suggestions for any videos, let us know in the comments below. Of course, we'll be happy to take a look at them. And of course, keep it subscribed here to the NASCARchronicle.com for much more NASCAR content just like this.